Recent flare-ups of aggression against foreign nationals, Mayed Manyoa wonders if it's time for a brutal conversation about xenophobia in South Africa. The Zimbabwean journalist and documentary filmmaker has written that maybe it's time that we as Zimbabweans remind ourselves that South Africa is treating us better than we ever treated immigrants. Manyoa joins me now to chat about this very article. Mr. Manyoa, thank you very much for your time. A very, very interesting article, I must say, particularly because you are a Zimbabwean national. You add a new perspective to this debate around undocumented foreign nationals and what we've been seeing happening, particularly in Deep Sud. Just take me through this perspective of yours.
So initially, I wasn't going to write about xenophobia because I felt like all the possible dialogues had been exhausted until my wife, who's also a journalist, wrote an article about it. And it drove me to think and wonder that as a journalist, have I really looked into it, as much as I should? And when I did, I had a few things, that came to mind that I thought I should share. The first one being, I wondered if we are better than the people that we criticize, if we really are better blacks. We look at South Africans, we say they don't have Ubuntu, they don't have humanity. And I looked at it from the perspective of, historically, Zimbabwe itself has a history of being extremely hostile towards migrants, especially African migrants. That was the first one. I looked at South Africa's policy and attitude towards Zimbabweans, towards citizens of Lesotho. And I thought that was a very soft approach, the issuing of permits, for example. And I thought the way that we were treating South Africans, or at least the notions we were allowing to be rampant in online discourse, weren't matching the kind of hospitality that had been received. I had an option to slam xenophobic goons, to use all those fancy adjectives, to call them thugs and the like. But because my wife had already done that, I felt I didn't need to reiterate that it is wrong to put a flaming tie on someone's neck and bend them to death simply because they were born the other side of the river, for example. And I also wanted to go deep into looking at the other side, because I've known for a long time that the best way to understand people is to listen. And, you listen, you understand people, you're better able to deal with them. And even a broken clock is right at least twice a day. And when people say there are problems with illegal immigrants and there are problems with crime, it's not entirely untrue. Some of these things are fact. And as Zimbabweans, we know somebody who's involved. We know people who jump the border. We know people who stamp passports out so people can stay and illegally work in South Africa. We know people that can manufacture permits for you. People can help you get a bank account. And these are conversations that nobody wants to have because there's a huge risk that you can get cancelled and you can get backlash.
It's unfortunate, honestly speaking, because we should be a society that is ready to have those nuanced conversations where we're saying two things can be right at the same time. It can be correct that people are getting their passports stamped, they're legally coming into the country and are contributing to the crime that we're seeing. But we can also say, like you say, it's incorrect to be taking the law into our own hands, even as South Africans. But somehow it's uncomfortable to have the conversation, which I think has probably led to the frustration of South Africans who want to legitimately talk about crime, and then xenophobia is thrown at them. Do you think it's really healthy to continue in that manner and not have both being condemned, that you do not take the law into your hands, that is xenophobic, but also at the same time we need to condemn, like you say, undocumented foreign nationals that contribute to the high crime levels in the country?
I don't think it's healthy at all. I think I wrote today on News 24, where I said, South Africans come and say, look, you guys are being bad guests. And then our response is, but you take it too far. And that is unhelpful. I think when you look at historically, from 2008, when xenophobia really started being a problem till now, every approach has not worked. Screaming that South Africans have got no Ubuntu, have got no humanity, has not worked. And that is because on the ground in communities, there are legitimate grievances about guests coming into people's homes and committing crime. And we should be able to sit down, especially us as Zimbabweans, because I try to avoid speaking on behalf of South Africans. As Zimbabweans, we need to be able to call each other out and say, look, guys, we know 1 or 2 or 3 people were involved in crime. We must understand that these are legitimate grievances. When people say, opportunities are being flooded by foreigners, it's not a lie. When they say people are being crowded out, people cannot run spaza shops, people cannot sell tomatoes from the roadside. This is a fact. And this arrangement is not working anywhere else in the world. It wouldn't work if 500,000 South Africans came to Zimbabwe and started selling tomatoes on the roadside. There would be problems. It wouldn't work in Zambia. It wouldn't work in Malawi. And the only way we can perhaps begin to quell the tensions is by saying to those who are aggrieved, we understand what you're saying, we accept what you're saying, and let us speak in one voice. Because, believe it or not, illegal immigrants actually harm the prospects of legal migrants, because what happens is eventually everybody gets painted in one brush as these Zimbabweans. These moments are stealing opportunities, yet there are people who qualify to come in and fill the skills deficit, but those opportunities are then taken away by people who are coming using other methods.
I suppose what you really are saying is that Zimbabweans who are legally in the country need to be part of the solution here. They need to work hand in hand with South Africans to solve the problem. Honestly, a very important conversation. I hope we can have you for a longer debate about this and have some Zimbabweans themselves who share different views to that of yours. It would really make for interesting broadcast and to hear different perspectives, because it seems at this point in South Africa, people are not willing to hear the other side. But thank you very much, Maynard, for your time. That was Maynard Manyowa, a Zimbabwean journalist and documentary filmmaker. Very important conversation that still needs to be had, because we can't just leave it at that we've got now immigrations that have gone to deep slough and are looking to resolve the problem. There needs to be an honest conversation that is had from both sides. And even South Africans, their concerns need to be heard. Do not stifle debate. On that end,